All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, I do see the chat is working. We have Anyting doing the googly eyes emoji. Spaz out saying Freaky Friday. Yes, thank God it's Friday because I don't have to stream on the weekends. Mike White 81, what up? And then we have Marcus 1967 saying morning sticks clank. I see my co-host has decided to clumber down here. As long as I'm wearing these pants that attract cat fur like a magnet, she wants to lay on my lap all of a sudden again. Sometimes she doesn't want to do that. She just wants to be over to the side. But with these pants, yes, absolutely, kitty. Show everyone how adorable and soft you are. Look at that squishy face. Anyway, we've got a lot of news to cover today, including a hot take on Marianne Williamson. I did a short earlier on that subject. But first, let's make sure we're actually live on Rumble here. Make sure it's... Yes, we are live on Rumble, I see. By the way, there is a hit piece about Rumble currently circulating. I will be addressing that tomorrow for the Rumble audience. That will be on all platforms, and you can, of course, share it out widely and proudly. It helps because I get algorithmically demoted by YouTube at this point. I get promoted on Twitter. I get promoted on Rumble. Those sites like me. BitChute likes me. YouTube just has a visceral problem with me at this point, which is rather sad. Salt A, rip Jerry Springer, showcased the decline of America 30 years ago on TV. Now it's actual clown world here. Hong Kong. Yeah, it's interesting how all the freaks and weirdos on Jerry Springer now would be celebrated as, symbols of the modern age or something. I would say this. I was never a Springer fan. Sure, there were some things about his show that were entertaining, but I can never forgive him for all of the spin-offs that were much less fun that came from that, like Steve Wilkos, what an asshole. Dr. Phil, what an asshole. Mari, what a boring asshole. There were a lot of rip-offs going on, and Jerry Springer wasn't the first, and he wasn't the only one. Of course, you also have Donahue around the same time. You have Wally George, actually. Most people don't know anything about him, but look up Wally George Radio Werewolf interview if you want to see something real funny. Or Guar. He had Guar on there with Sleazy P. Martini, who, of course, is co-hosted with me a couple times. James Flowers, you should really play Zomboid. I don't really have much time for gaming. I do a little bit of Minecrafting, sometimes when the baby is asleep taking a nap, and that's basically the sum and substance of my gaming life at this point. Probably for the best. Then I can focus on actual work and make more money. Anyway, we got to talk about Desantis and his anti-Semitism bill. It's not technically the name of it, but HB269. We will be talking about the wider ramifications because I had addressed this over a month ago, and I don't like the bill for obvious reasons. We'll be talking about the stealth nuclear submarine that's currently hovering around South Korea, sent by the United States. It's meaningful. It's definitely brinksmanship, although semi-justified. Also, Marianne Williamson putting out an epic goddamn loss, and we will be ridiculing her for that because she definitely fucking deserves it. Jarexkin, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sudan Biolab is connected to Fauci and the Hong Kong. I don't know if I can criticize them on YouTube, because the best way to engage in morally bankrupt and illegal research is to subcontract it to other countries. Yeah, I pointed that out the other day. It's possible. Although I would say it's also possible these people are just fucking stupid. One or the other is definitely the case. We'll get right into the news, though, really quickly here. Governor DeSantis signs anti-Semitism bill in Jerusalem. Yes, he took a visit to Israel in order to grandstand with regards to HB269. Representative Randy Fine and Representative Mike Caruso made a trip to Jerusalem to deliver anti-Semitism bill to Governor Ron DeSantis, according to Fine. On Twitter, Fine wrote, "To Florida's Nazi thugs, I have news. Attack Jews on their property and you're going to prison." Well, I don't think anyone should be attacked on their property, so that sounds good, right? See, that's the problem. It's whitewashing what the bill actually contains. Most of it is just legalese bullshit. It's sort of reiterating existing law, like you're not allowed to intimidate and harass people. Well, that's already against the law. You're not allowed to project images onto private property without the owner's consent. That actually makes sense. The George Floyd people have been doing that repeatedly. Here's the problem. There was one provision in the bill, and I'm getting gaslit by a lot of DeSantis fans on this one. As I spoke of the other day, getting, fact-checked by Community Notes, which is, you're fighting a losing battle, dude. It's clearly my personal opinion with regards to the First Amendment. Anyway, when we look at that one particular segment of the bill, it's contrary to the First Amendment in every way, the right to free expression. And I talked about this previously. I said if DeSantis signs the bill in its current form, which he did, I could no longer support him. And I hold to that. Ron DeSantis has gone a bridge too far, in my opinion, and it has nothing to do with combating hate or anything like that. And that portion of the bill has to do with billeting, with leaflets. And the idea is that you can't leaflet. Now, that the gaslighting is, well, it's only about private property. It has nothing to do with it's only private property and and universities, basically educational centers. The insinuation is that it's an attempt to block BLM and Antifa, etc., from going in and raising a ruckus and providing jail sentences for them if they do. Now, that's all well and good. If you have prosecutors that are any good, you're already bringing them in on charges. Florida's not Portland. Florida's not New York City. Florida's not Chicago. That part makes sense. The problem is that the loose language involved with this bill does not just apply to private property, number one. It also applies to public property at large. And number two is very up to interpretation and the old devil, differential enforcement. Now, that may not be a huge problem in some parts of Florida. You've got some small town there. Clearly, the sheriff and the prosecutor and stuff, they're right wing, and they're probably not going to haul you in because of your politically edgy beliefs. They're more worried about Antifa burning down businesses. That's perfectly fine. That's all well and good. You've set a precedent, though, that it is possible that some activistic prosecutor, some activistic judge in a city in Florida, because there are cities there, believe it or not, Tampa Bay and Miami do exist. You do realize they can haul you in on charges and put you in prison for up to 5 years for merely offending somebody. So if I go out and I have "it's okay to be white" or something similar, something innocuous, it's not a negative message, has nothing to do with hate, it has nothing to do with hate speech, which is also very loosely defined. But I put it up on a telephone pole, and somebody on that street happens to be black, and they complain about it. They say, look, I've been offended. This was targeting me. This is hate speech. The ADL agrees with me. Do something about it. I can go to prison for 5 years for having put that up. This is not just about private property. I'm getting gaslit over and over, having read the goddamn bill several times by people who claim that this only has to do with posting a billet on someone's business or on someone's house. That's not what the bill says. That's not its actual content. Get past the fucking gaslighting. And I've kept asking all of DeSantis fans. Again, someone who's done a decent job as governor. He's done good things for Florida. He got reelected by 20 points for a reason. Someone who, under other circumstances with regards to this bill and a few other problems, would be a good candidate, maybe for 28, a good VP choice or something like that. Somebody who I don't personally have a huge bone to pick with, again, until the last 24 hours. I keep asking them, how can you justify HB269 without bringing up Trump? And they keep failing. They either gaslight me on the contents of the bill or they bring up Donald. Well, Donald didn't fire Fauci. Donald Trump, vaccines. Donald Trump did X, Y, and Z. That's 90% of the goddamn criticism when I strike out at this and say, look, this is not a good idea. That's an affront to the First Amendment. It's all about it's all about Trump. They don't even want to mention, they don't even try to defend DeSantis. They just point out, well, Trump did worse. And here's my opinion about how and why. Or again, they try to gaslight on the content of HB269. The fact is that this effectively criminalizes you putting up a piece of goddamn paper with a fucking stapler or a goddamn sticker on a lamppost because somebody else in general proximity happens to find it offensive. The problem is that what is found offensive varies from person to person. And so you're going to have a lot of plaintiffs misusing this law. Guess what? Most of them will be leftoids. Thank you, Ron DeSantis. Thank you to all of his fans. Thank you very much. Very cool. It'll go over really well. We've got Khalid Cooper saying clank. Thank you very much. We have, just a sec. Aussie's robots. Kids get attacked at a Christian school. FBI infiltrates Catholic churches. Desantis, let's focus on non-existent anti-Semitism in Florida. Shaking my head. Yeah, how many anti-Semitic attacks are there actually there? Not very many. Most people do not have particularly bigoted views unless it's against certain other groups that have a lack of legal protection. And Desantis has decided to cuck on the issue. And this is cucking. This is effectively him trying to get the evangelical vote more than anything else. Trying to get the old evangelical boomers who have weird fantasies about what Jerusalem looks like in Jesus' tomb and shit like that aboard. EO, hey Sticks, I know you don't like gossip, but have you seen the Steven Crowder ring video? This doesn't look good for him. Yes, but I have no further thoughts on it. I don't know what led up to it. I don't know what happened after it. And I don't care because I don't care about the personal lives of other creators. I only care about the content they create. I happen to watch Crowder's material. I like his material in general. Some of it's better than others. I loved his YouTube Christmas Carol back in the day. It was one of the greatest things I think that he's ever made. That and his Jank impression at the the talk where he crashed their panel dressed as Jank. It was very funny. But I don't have any inside knowledge of his personal life or his dynamic with his wife. So I'm neither going to praise nor crucify him about anything personal because I just don't get into e-drama stuff. And I know I could sell out. I could sell out and start doing an e-drama show. And I guarantee I'd be good at it, by the way, if I did this. And have people aboard and just fucking crucify them. And probably be twice as far ahead as I am now in terms of reach. I could do that, like many others have done successfully. But I'm not willing to compromise my own agenda. I'm more willing to talk about polls and weird news and things like that and fucking gardening. I don't really have a great deal of interest in e-drama. Yeah, Amric Samurai bringing up basically the de facto DeSantis point. Trump is no better. Yeah, but that doesn't answer the question. How do you defend HB269? That's exactly my point. You can't defend it. Try to find an angle by which you can defend a direct attack on the First Amendment, the ability of people to express themselves in a nonverbal manner in public places or in general without bringing up Trump. You can't. Otherwise, you have to gaslight. You have to tell me that I'm wrong, having read the bill several times. I don't see Donald Trump passing such a law. I don't think that he would. Next news story. Why send a U.S. stealth submarine to South Korea and tell the world about it? Now they're being all disingenuous about this. It's actually a good idea, in my opinion, to have a nuclear deterrent around South Korea. Is it necessary with regards to North Korea? No, of course not. North Korea tests its bombs. And, well, for a couple of years under Trump, they didn't do that. There was rapprochement involved. But since the Biden stewardship has arrived, unfortunately, that progress has been largely pissed away. It makes sense. We have a mutual defense treaty with South Korea. We're a direct ally. It's not like with Ukraine, where we're not a direct ally of the country in any meaningful sense. It's an actual legitimate formal alliance. That makes sense. Now, they try to say that it's about Pyongyang. They try to say that it's about North Korea. I'm skeptical about that. I think it has more to do with having a show of force on the front doorstep of China, because North Korea clearly is not going to do jack shit. They don't have the ability to overrun South Korea. Because of that mutual defense treaty, if North Korea were to attack them, the U.S. would actually respond. Even under Biden, we'd probably respond. And North Korea would be obliterated. They would be destroyed. It doesn't matter if the military generals are going woke. We still have easily the sophistication involved because North Korea is operating mainly with technology from the 60s and 70s. That's not what they're worried about. They're worried about China. It's sort of a deterrent also for Taiwan, which is in the same neck of the woods. People look at a map and you'll be able to put two and two together and find out exactly why the sub's there. They're actually criticizing it. Even the legacy media is critical of it. Oh, why are we doing this? And why did you tell everyone the sub would be there? This sub will just disappear into the ocean depths and be effectively untraceable by a group like the North Koreans. The Chinese, meanwhile, will know it's there, but there's nothing they can do about it. It can go wherever the hell it wants and repeatedly violate their territorial waters, and there's not a whole lot that they can do about it without having a nuclear war. So that's basically the concept. By the way, the idea that China would rise up in defense of North Korea, as I see several people mentioning here, if North Korea fired first, is actually doubtable. China at this point is much more interested in building up its colonial possessions in East Africa and in parts of Latin America. They've got less interest, you've seen over the last few years, in North Korea. They've rebuked them a couple times. They've refused to defend them in front of the UN a couple of times. They're more hesitant now to deal with sending them rice shipments, et cetera, et cetera. They see them as dead weight. I think that at some point, China will effectively attempt to jettison North Korea, destabilizing South Korea, by the way, in the process, when people come pouring across the DMZ, while focusing on Taiwan. They want to reunify the one China situation. I do believe that that's what they want. I don't care about fucking North Korea. All the resources they have, they've got domestically in China. One thing that they would want, though, all of that wonderful lithium and things like that happens to be very, very profuse down in Taiwan. Zeranx, this is the second time DeSantis has done this. There's no anti-N-word or related law, and I don't want one either signed in the U.S. or any of my family's villages in Africa. This is dangerous long-term. Hopium Gardener, Ron D. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. Ron DeSantis, you can read the super chat for yourself. Really just went full Shabos. Also, do you find a lot of elements of the Hong Kong questionable? We're not going to get into that on a YouTube live stream. Maybe I'll do a Rumble exclusive live stream where I reiterate the same views that I've reiterated 5 or 6 times, especially when called a Holocaust denier by the leftoids. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. More Biltong money. It's gonna come. I'm gonna come down there. I'm gonna buy You're gonna run out of the meat. You're gonna run out of beef. I'll buy the whole cow. I would like to own a cow someday. That'd be fun. You can pet it on the snout and it does little moo-moo noises and wiggles its tail. I think cows are cute myself. The Jerk sent $50, but you didn't send a comment. Well, shit. You gypped yourself. Ozzy's Robots. Last year I mentioned DeSantis was run by Bush people. Agree 100% with your take. HB269 smacks of a Patriot Act style law under the cover of anti-Semitism. Never compromise on your freedom of speech. Yeah, exactly. And I was willing. Have I not been willing to give DeSantis the benefit of the doubt for fucking months and months? I don't care if he gets into the race against Trump. I don't see it as a betrayal. I don't see it as a problem. I don't see him winning, especially after this. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Like red flag law, DeSantis. So, okay, well, I can levy the same criticism against Trump for non-gun purism. He's done well economically, generally speaking. He did reasonably well with regards to lockdownerism. He was one of the first governors to put the kibosh to that, to the point where the Biden admin threatened to shut down domestic air travel to Florida. I have respect for some of the things that he's done. I don't have a problem with him, and some people cast me off as having like DeSantis derangement syndrome. I told people a long time ago this would be a bridge too far unless that one provision, which is so problematic and sloppily worded, was parsed out of HB 269. I can't remember exactly when I first covered it. It was a while ago. I told people I would no longer be able to genuinely support him. I just can't. It's not in my character. It's not my nature. If you attack the First Amendment and the right to free expression on that level, I cannot support you. So yeah, I mean, unless he decides to, unless he signed it with disappearing ink or something like that, I guess it's DeSantis is out of the lexicon of my own political beliefs. I can't abide by that. Meanwhile, there will be people who post on the internet sticks Ron derangement syndrome again. I've seen people, by the way, posting about that. Even when there was one person, I won't mention the site, who actually was posting literally yesterday, I think, about how I was going full on Trump MAGA, mode with regards to DeSantis and Disney. And I would point it out if I use the website. Hey, I actually made a video explicitly siding with DeSantis on that fucking issue. Explicitly. DeSantis is right on going after Disney. Somehow they got the opposite in mind. This happens often. My words and views are misrepresented constantly by people who just don't like me. Sigil Stone 17. China has realized having a rabid dog is hazardous. Yeah, I think they might throw Kim Jong-un under the bus. causing problems all across the Korean Peninsula. If a forced reunification happens, it will cause political and economic chaos in South Korea too. The resulting Korean Peninsula, having been united, will have problems for decades thereafter. China understands this. Sigilstone follow-up. Also, don't use the Rumble app. You can't use fun words in the live chat with it. Oh, you can't? That's interesting. The Defamation League. Hey, Sticks, we just signed up for Discord the other day to join Timcast server. Do you have a presence on Discord and or have any recommended servers to join? Nope, I've never had a presence on Discord. I tried joining up in order to join Sargon for one of his live streams a couple of years ago, and I couldn't figure out how the fuck to get it to work, so I said, fuck it. Opinionated Junkie. Can Tucker run for president? Sure. Yeah, of course he can. Get a point. Probably. Maybe. Speaking of presidential candidates. Oh, it's juicy. Oh, it was music to my ears. The tweet was only live for about 15 minutes. I saw it at the tail, like the ass end of when it was still there, but I managed to grab an archive. If I had been maybe 30 or 60 seconds later, I wouldn't be putting this in the live stream right now. So count your lucky stars that I have archive.today literally up there as a shortcut for a reason. It's exactly for this sort of scenario, and I goddamn love it. This is Marianne Williamson. Of course, she's a presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. She's the third wheeler. She's the progressive, aka communistic candidate. Averages 8 or 9 points usually in polls. RFK Jr., meanwhile, pushing 20. In my opinion, she should drop out, endorse RFK Jr. He could get to 25 or 30, and at some point, they might end up having to schedule some sort of debate or something, because it would show that Joe Biden doesn't actually have very much support for an incumbent president, or Stewart, rather, in his case. Meanwhile, Trump faces a massive packed crowd of people, and he's probably going to end up with a larger margin of victory in the end once the delegates are counted up. Anyway, Marianne Williamson, because she is a boomer, she tried to DM one of her campaign staff named Jason. I don't know the surname, and if I did know it, I wouldn't put it on a live stream that was on YouTube, because sometimes they ban you for that. She tried to DM Jason, or possibly send an email to him. Somehow she ended up posting it publicly on Twitter. Archived link, by the way, in description. Always archive the cringe. Don't screen cap it. Don't reference it and not have an archive, because then people can always say, which in some cases is true, hey, I think that the screen grab here has been altered. Hey, I don't think you know what you're talking about. No, have an archive. Marianne Williamson posting earlier over on Twitter accidentally, and there are people down there that are chuckling about it too. Need more context here. Who's Jason, etc., etc. Dear Jason, campaign staffer, I'm assuming. When people have ideas for me that they send to you, please just forward them to me unless they are totally crazy. I'm sure she gets plenty of totally crazy suggestions, considering her fan base, by the way. I don't need a gatekeeper. I can interpret what I want for myself. I can see in 5 seconds whether it's something I want. I will delete what I don't want and send to the appropriate person what I do. Please send me the ideas that people want me to see. Those are for me. Thanks, Marianne. Now, clearly this was meant to be a direct message or an email. This was not meant to be posted publicly. The reason why this is important is threefold. Number one, it's a boomer moment, so it's just fucking funny. I mean, fucking laugh at her for fun. I saw a Jacobin article from earlier. It was like, well, you can laugh all you want about crystals and stuff, but take Marianne Williamson seriously. Dude, when you've got Jacobin pushing for you, I don't think you need to take the person seriously. I think that you need to fucking laugh at them 10 times harder. That's number one. It's funny. It's a boomer moment. Number two, in the context of a few weeks ago, we got a story. This is back in March. Not that long ago, we got a story where some former staffers were alleging that she was verbally abusive to them, that she was difficult to work with. Well, if this is the kind of communique that she's sending, don't be a gatekeeper, I can do what I want for myself, basically butt out, that seems to corroborate the basic premise. I would note that Marianne Williamson is totally not the only person, by the way, that falls under that broad header. Amy Klobuchar has the same problem. Of course, she is not going to be in the running, presumably. She was throwing shit at people's heads, according to several staffers. Marianne Williamson is just verbally abusive and emotionally difficult to work with, allegedly, according to that. And number 3, anytime that you have a leftoid, you should definitely report on such things when this happens, because it's, again, amusing, corroborates another story, potentially at least, an allegation against her. And having a boomer moment. Oh, okay, so you don't understand the difference between a DM and a public post on Twitter. You clearly realized your mistake later, though, because you deleted it. You then followed up with several rapid fire tweets, again, in the middle of the night, effectively, on your time zone. That's very, very telling. See, what she's trying to do by doing that is distract people from this, effectively. Hey, I'll just cover it up by talking about 10 other issues at the same time. So I thought it was funny, and I'm very glad to be the one that archived it, by the way. Cheers to me. Archives are a wonderful thing. Big boy. Styx has Desantis derangement syndrome. Yeah, I get that constantly. You criticize the dude, and all of a sudden you get community notes on your post. Casey Bengry. Good morning, Styx. I got a 20 by 20 space tilled up so far. Thinking about purchasing a greenhouse. I have 5 acres to play with. Clank. Yeah, if you got 5 acres, you should definitely get a little greenhouse. Get a sodium vapor lamp. I don't know what climate you're in. If you're in a northern climate, you can also go in there in January and it'll feel exactly like the middle of summer. So, the jerk. Can you make a new vid about gaining demon favor? I've already covered that basic premise before. I can cover it from a different angle sometime, maybe. Doubt Shadow. Holla at Phil Bowman of South Buffalo, juggling plums. Yeah, I'm finding it really, really funny that Marianne Williamson is self-owning here on multiple levels. I wonder if I can rope-a-dope her into responding to me. I've done that a couple of times before. Swamp Donkey 69420. Hi, Styx. Why is it that one group is always protected? If the ideas are so bad, then let them be said and destroyed out in the open. See, that's what I believe. I think that sunlight is the best disinfectant. And if someone has genuinely stupid or bigoted, like really out there beliefs, let them air them out in public so people can refute them. I don't believe in censorship at all. I don't think it works at all. And follow up. Also, shout out to Anton's in North Texas. I went. Good stuff. With friendly staff, also very good desserts. Clank Nation. I don't eat dessert, but I'll eat biltong. Sigil Stone. I saw a report yesterday that the middle-aged and white women are 58% of antidepressant prescriptions. You know what that means? 42% of white women are running around untreated. Ha ha ha. Il Sarto. I don't think the ignorant should vote. There is no plausible mechanism to achieve it, and any legislation in that direction is probably unconstitutional. I still hold the opinion. Mentally ill is the same. Yeah, if you constrain mental illness to criminal lunatics, then it's okay to prevent them from voting. They, by the way, already are. If you're saying that someone with seasonal affective or ADHD shouldn't be able to vote, then I obviously oppose that. Andy has a problem, I guess, with the Marianne Williamson bit. You sound like a crybaby leftist. She was not abusive. She's just lame. Well, she's lame, too. I was simply pointing out there has been an allegation by staffers prior to this of abuse, and then she's berating one of her staff for gatekeeping, which is probably in the job description. Hey, don't forward me shit that's irrelevant. Well, if that person says, well, this idea is so crazy that it's irrelevant, and they act on their own accord with that, and then get berated for it, well, at least make sure that you DM them next time instead of posting it publicly. Otherwise, you're going to get laughed at by Clankdom. Cyberbeep sent $10. No comment. Thank you. Next news story. Erdogan is pretending to be ill. I think he's done this before. Turkey's Erdogan cancels public appearances after falling ill as election nears. I like how they uncritically assume that he actually is sick. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan largely canceled 2 days of campaigning as crucial elections loom after he fell ill during a live televised interview. Tuesday's interview with the president, who is facing a battle to retain power next month's vote, was cut during the middle of a question, with Erdogan later returning and saying he had a serious stomach flu. That means he might have shit his pants, or nearly so, on a live stream. By the way, Turks derogatorily call him Tayyip, basically, just by his middle name. as a pejorative, and he's not well beloved by certain segments of Turkish society. He's trying to undo Ataturk's reforms mainly and turn it into a mini dictatorship. The only reason that I put this in here was twofold. Number one, this is a NATO member that hosts U.S. nuclear systems. So for the Western world, if there's political shenanigans in Turkey, it does make sense to talk about them. They are a serious issue. The second and more concerning aspect is how often this is happening in politics elsewhere. You'll remember in the Hong Kong Totally Fair 2020 election when events were canceled, et cetera, when people didn't show up for things. And then when criticized, they would berate their opponents usually because there was Hong Kong, a very, very serious pandemic going on at the time. How is this any different kind of behavior? A stomach flu. Oh my God. So you shit yourself. You felt rumbly in your tumbly. So you decided to axe your interview. Maybe the interview just wasn't going Erdogan's way. That's much more likely. Boycott Warhammer Plus. Hey, Sticks, have you heard the issues around Mike Hunt and the Dems? I heard there's a real stink down there. Yeah. Cyberbeep. YouTube blanked my 10 super. So to summarize, do you think that gun laws will become more and more opposed by the public as time goes on, e.g. AW ban 2023? Yes, sentiment has turned against gun control in the United States in a fairly steep way. And it's not a recent thing. It's been happening since the 2000s, especially since the middle of Obama's term. JK Aupa, you are totally disrespectful. Good. People get respect when they earn it. Marianne Williamson is a communist, so she will never be able to earn my respect. Not unless she embraces the truth of our Lord and Savior Ron Paul or something like that. Next news story, not so funny. 11 people killed in suspected Maoist militant attack in central India. By the way, there's almost no way that I'm going to be able to pronounce the actual township in which this happened. 10 policemen and a civilian were killed in a blast as they were returning from an operation against insurgents in India's central Chhattisgarh state. It's close, maybe. Its chief minister said Wednesday, rebel Maoist militants are believed to be responsible for the attack. Bhupesh Baghel told reporters, expressing his grief over the deaths. This has been a thing, and I like it. I'm tying this into the West. Oftentimes, we're told leftists are peaceful. They're basically just hippies. They don't love beads and meditation. Like it's fucking 1968 or something all over again. And so, you know, it's actually right-wingers are the ones that are violent. You do realize that a significant number of terrorist attacks happen every single week around, especially this part of the world. India is one of the most common places. Pakistan too, to an extent, Bangladesh actually, even in China, by leftists, by communists. These are Maoists specifically, and they want to overthrow Modi's government because they see it as reactionary and far right and everything wrong in the world. This happens on a regular basis. Commies in Europe occasionally will do things like this. And people in the West need to understand it. The problem is that despite the fact that people are capable of reading news from literally anywhere in the world, like I can read the Bhutanese Daily News right now, and it's not difficult. We have the internet. Despite that fact, a lot of people only really care about their own locality. They don't really care about what's going on in the wider world. I think that's one of the reasons why so many people are conned by leftoidism. A lot of liberals, they say, well, I'm not exactly far left. I'm not on board with this whole anarchism and communism thing. But look at those MAGA hat wearers. They're so self-evidently and clearly much more violent and dangerous for our country. Well, commies blow themselves and others up on a daily basis almost in India, to the point of many, many deaths. For decades, they've been fighting these people. I remember reading about this back in the 2000s. Back when I was early on the internet, there would be occasional attacks like this of a large enough size that even sometimes the Western media would pick it up. And anyway, India right now is poised to overtake China as number 2 in the world, which I think is a good thing, by the way, a much better India than China. But they still have this problem. Despite the fact that the Indian economy is surging on ahead and they're steadily growing more and more wealth and a larger middle class, there are still always going to be these outside elements that will find anyone who is aggrieved and then give them an AK-47. Happens all the time. I don't see many reactionary groups in India conducting terrorist attacks. They're more likely to go to political rallies. Cyberbeep, people, respect me, Sticks? Sticks, but why? Yeah, exactly. You earn respect. I respect my clankers, of course, the people that are watching, but that doesn't mean I always have to agree with people. And as far as Marianne Williamson, of course I'm going to disrespect her. She's a commie. She deserves it, especially when she self-owns. I don't care if she's an irrelevant candidate. It's fucking hilarious. She had a boomer moment and tried to send a DM on Twitter, but accidentally posted it publicly. It took her like 15 minutes to actually remove it. And she expected that nobody would question that further because she doesn't understand that archive.today exists. It's why you should have it bookmarked. Big boy, Sticks, it's pronounced Shadizgar. I guess I'm close enough. The Waffle House, Clank from Dallas, Fort Worth. Sticks, I'm facing an unlawful eviction in Dallas. Can you DM me on Twitter if you don't mind helping me share my GoFundMe? My apologies, generally speaking, when something like that happens. Unless it's somebody who I've interacted with them a lot before. I know them personally, etc. I tend not to share out people's funding pages. Part of this is for legal reasons. So I'll pin you up here. So the Waffle House is there. If you want to help the Waffle House out, you can contact him or whatever. I can't get directly involved partially for legal reasons because I don't know that your story is true. I'm not doubting you. I'm not saying you're a liar. Just clear the air. That's not what I'm saying. For my own legal purposes, though, I can't get directly involved generally with such things unless it's a registered organization or someone I can personally vouch for, like a long-term contact and I've known them for 10 years or something. So my apologies. I do feel for you, and I'm assuming that you're telling me the truth, but for partially legal reasons, I can't do that. Rebels have sex appeal. Sticks, if Perma axed on YouTube, what is your next platform competitive strategy? Hashtag Clank Nation, Rumble Rants, Rumble, Jim Green's Mobile. Well, I am big on Rumble, 140,000 subscribers, similar number on BitChute, tens of thousands on Odyssey, thousands following on Substack. Big on Twitter at this point, getting towards 130K on there. I don't have a problem. YouTube at this point, it could have been completely dominant. All they had to do was not rock the boat. They had the perfect plan going. Hey, come on here, make content. We make money. You make money. That's the end of it. It was perfect for a few years there, around like 2013 to 2016, roughly around there was the golden age of YouTube. They've decided to censor more and more people off the platform. While I make a lot of money doing literally what I'm doing right now on YouTube, and while I like the platform, it is still the world's greatest jukebox, for example, it's no longer specifically and strictly necessary for me to even be there in order to make a living. I mean, I'm making money on Rumble right now as well. Speaking of which, I've got some chats over there. Sigilstone, only landowners should vote. Rentoids can be 3/5 of a vote. Yeah. Farnicator, no clank clank here, doing field of greens, so it's shake shake. Sigilstone, news out of Haiti says the government has completely collapsed and disappeared. Libertarians reportedly turgid. I'll have to look into the Haiti news. I did see there was another wave of instability there. I'll, in fact, Haiti news. I'll just put that on a tab. Swamp Donkey. Commies are responsible for over 100 million deaths. At my university, the commies were the only violent group. We should deport all leftists to North Korea and China, never to return. They wouldn't take them. In fact, the Chinese have a term for leftoids in the Western world who hate their own cultures. I can't remember. Is it Gaizu or something like that, I think, or Daizu? And it's a pejorative. It's basically mocking them for their anti-nativist sentiment. Aussie's robots. Our politicians never fight commie violence. Why? Because communism makes them profit. The Waffle House. Yep, I got you. I appreciate it, my dude. Yeah, I do feel sorry for you, and I do apologize. But generally, again, I just can't. My hands are tied on fundraisers generally. But I wish you well. I clank in your honor. Well, I would clank. I don't have a spoon, so I'll sip, other caffeine sources. Good luck to you. Sounds like you might have a legal case. I did actually see your DM earlier. I was wondering if you would super chat. Baizao, silly leftist. Yeah, that's the term. Baizao. Baizwell? I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not Chinese. Next news story. Thawing permafrost may unleash industrial pollution across the Arctic. We're all going to die again. The permafrost is deciding to melt. You know, you saw a couple years ago, we're going to get viruses and bacteria from the permafrost. They're going to enter the human chain and kill us all. That hasn't happened so far. Now it turns out that toxic substances from industrial sites are going to flow into the neighboring areas and into water systems and eventually reach potentially the ocean and kill us all. Why is it that the permafrost melting is such a goddamn boogeyman for these people? And it really is. This is not actually a threat to human civilization. The amount of industrial pollutants that are locked away in the permafrost is easily exceeded by the number that are already in our water. We've got microparticles of plastic. We've got forever chemicals. We've got radiation, which, I mean, background radiation, by the way, when they talk about that, you do realize it's higher than it was before atomic testing. We've permanently raised that threshold by a considerable margin. It's just not capable of killing the average person. Yeah, I wonder, why is cancer a little bit more likely these days? Why are people a little bit less healthy? That and the fact that they don't farm the land 10 hours a day and get huge amounts of exercise. I fucking wonder why. Oh my God, the permafrost is melting across the Arctic. Clearly, we're all going to become irradiated and ghoulified. But that's not actually going to happen. The amount of overall material there to contaminate surrounding areas, and again, potentially make into the oceans, into the rain and so forth, is a drop in the goddamn bucket. It would be like me taking a bucket of poison and dumping it in a lake. Okay, once it gets diluted down, how much is the actual parts per, not even million, but trillion of that poison? It's not going to kill anything that wasn't near the bucket. This will harm the surrounding areas. It will kill off fish. It will kill off birds. It will probably scorch some trees and stunt them and fuck them up. Once it gets diluted enough, it will be like it didn't exist at all, and it will degrade into the background over time. That's just the way that it works. You are much more threatened by buying food that's packed in plastic, by eating greasy fried bullshit from McDonald's, by eating a lot of sugar, by smoking, by drinking. Those are things that you can control, and you can eliminate like 90% of all the toxicity you'll ever be exposed to just through your lifestyle choices. You know, you can move out of the city because that's heavily polluted. You know, if you want to offset this pollution, just nuke New York City. The offset of pollution would be more than enough to take a bunch of, get rid of trash and toxic waste and human manure that all ends up in New Jersey for processing. Yes, it does smell a little bit funny down in Jersey City. John Hendy, have you heard about the Colorado legislature rejecting a proposed assault weapon ban? Should tell you everything about how popular they really are. Yeah, Washington State, meanwhile, passed theirs. It'll be injuncted. Inslee signed it. And in the end, it probably will be, done away with. I can't imagine it being upheld because of the Bruin decision. Bruin decision, by the way, probably the most important thing Trump gave us. Sigil Stone, the Chinese insult for leftoids is Baizuo. It means bugman. I don't know if that's the literal translation, but it's close enough. Ozzy's Robots, Trump and Haley came out in tacit support of Disney. Huge mistake. Disney is a legacy media grooming, largely anti-white company. I do side with Desantis on that particular issue. Yeah, he's right to fight Disney. Not for that reason. Fuck the wokeness. They're a company town with an undue amount of artificial shielding from regulations. I don't think the regulations by and large need to exist, but they should be applied evenly. It's anti-competitive. It's monopolistic, and it exerts control over the state function. And over copyright law. Look at fucking Mickey Mouse and the constant punting of U.S. copyright law. For those reasons, I agree with DeSantis. I do think it was a mistake for Trump to bother weighing in on it. I realize he wants to attack DeSantis. That was not a great idea. I would agree with you. BW and good riddance. Sigil Stone, the permafrost will melt and we'll have more land to live on. The deserts will be desertier. The horror. Look at who has the most permafrosted land. Russia. It's all geopolitical. Canada as well. Big winner in that particular advent. That's why Canada should remove itself from the Commonwealth. In a couple hundred years, you'll have much more temperate land. You'll be selling a bunch of grain to England. Ligma Weenus, I live in Illinois. What do you expect to happen with the recent gun ban here? Like with most gun bans that have been passed recently, I expect it to be overturned. Anti-gunnery is on its way out. There was an Atlantic article a couple of weeks ago or so, where they were lamenting this. They're like, basically, well, it's all, we're doomed. We're going to have high gun crime forever. We've got to admit that we've lost the war against guns. Oh, good. I mean, there's still much more work to do. Don't get complacent. Definitely support gun owners of America. I would say the NRA, but they're a bunch of fuds. If you want to own a shotgun, go with the NRA. If you want to own an actual serviceable sporting rifle, you should go with Gun Owners of America or Firearms Policy Coalition. There's much more work to be done, but yeah, as far as carrying guns, types of guns, historical precedent being utilized, Crookshank is now completely dead. The zombified corpse of it was finally burned into ashes in the wake of McDonald v. Chicago with the Bruin decision. Then you've got Heller versus DC, et cetera, et cetera. Gun control, which is really just an attack on the Second Amendment, is slowly going the way of the dinosaur, and good fucking riddance. Rebels have sex appeal. Hell yeah, don't judge, but I can only clank on mobile. Would like to clank on Rumble exclusively. That's why I carry about Rumble monetizing mobile. Bara, watched your debate with Dave Smith. Very good. Thank you. That was a good one. Paul Denton, bean it up. We're having fried chicken and roasted sweet potato and green beans tonight. I make excellent fried chicken, by the way. It is always juicy, perfectly cooked, golden, crispy on the outside, and lots of herbs and spices. Irma Gersh, halfway through The Elfin Ship, slow reader. Excellent book, my literal favorite. Just a sec here. Sometimes I have to write myself notes for news tips and shit like that. Oh, yeah, I guess Haiti is descending into chaos, and there's been a bunch of lynchings in their capital. Oh, well, it's not like there was any stability there to begin with. By the way, how many people are watching on Rumble? Yeah, between the two platforms, it's over 4,000 at the moment. Pretty normal. Let's see if we can get it higher. Il Sarto, reader, listen to The Poisoner's Handbook by Deborah Blum, story of the inception of forensic medicine. You speak about its topics often. You'd love it. Okay, there's another tip. The Poisoner's Handbook by Blum. See, this is why I love my job, you know. I get book tips all day. And then the final piece of news, speaking of unrest and instability and weirdness, the other day, I talked about how there was a Kenyan cult, very loosely based on Christianity, by a man named Mackenzie. And he was encouraging his parishioners to fast for periods of time that were killing them. There are a number of, at least some dozens are dead in that particular cult, and hundreds of others are unaccounted for and presumed possibly dead. So you could have a Jim Jones moment in Kenya at this very time with that particular cult. I think they took him into custody. The thing is, when your parishioners, by and large, are already underweight, and you tell them to fast for a month at a time, that's probably going to kill them. And it did, unfortunately. And they're finding mass graves now. We have no clue how many people already are dead. It could be in the thousands for all we know, although I don't know that his particular, New Life International, I think, church in Kenya, I don't think it was quite that large, but some hundreds probably are dead. Now we've got a second news story. Just a day later from Kenya. Kenya arrests second pastor to face crime charges related to mass killing of his followers. This isn't even the same church. So apparently this is like a repeat event. I have a feeling that the relation is they saw the first cult and unearthed the mass graves, and then they found out, well, there's this other pastor kind of being similar, so we're going to arrest him and look into what the fuck is going on. The hope is that there's not a mass killing with the second cult. Kenyan authorities on Thursday arrested another prominent televangelist to face criminal charges related to mass killing of his followers. Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki said Ezekiel Ombok Odero, who pastors the New Life Prayer Church in Malveni, Kilifi County, announced the arrest on Twitter, but did not give further detail on the allegations against him. So it could be that the government's just persecuting someone and this is not a cult leader. We will admit to the possibility of that, but based on the timing, in my opinion, it's most likely that they're just like getting more aware of the fact that they've got a bunch of weirdo cults in their country, and they're trying to crack down on them because they don't want an international Jonestown-style incident. It's the biggest possibility. The said church has been shut down, the minister posted on social media site Twitter, adding that over 100 people were holed up at the premises of the church, have been evacuated, and will be required to record statements. Odero And here's the possible cult part. Touts miracle healing for the sick, whom he sells packaged water described as living water and handkerchiefs at 100 Kenyan shillings, around 70 cents. There's nothing special in the bottles. It's purified water. I pray for it. The clothes used by Paul in the Bible healed many people. The shadows of the prophets also had healing powers, he told local media in an interview. That's fairly low-key. There's nothing special about this. I just prayed over it. But the Bible says that it can heal people. I mean, technically speaking, canonically, he's not incorrect there. So I don't know. That might be cult activity, but it may not be. His church sits on a 65-acre land and has a guest house that accommodates church members who sleep in the church, Odero said in a December 2020 interview. The faithful come from all over the world, he is quoted as saying. The place is full to capacity every Sunday. Getting a parking lot is difficult. I had to build a petrol station for guests to fuel their cars. So this is a little bit larger than the other potential cult, where unfortunately there are literal mass graves, and so there was a die-off event. The hope is that, of course, this is just political persecution or something, or a coincidence. Ozzy's Robots, is there a trans cult leaving thousands sterile? Let me ask this, do you care? I mean, if it's a cult and they're sterilizing themselves, well, a little bit self-correcting. To be clear, I don't hate transgendered people and have no real problem with that lifestyle. I only go towards the side of don't sexualize kids. So, kids shouldn't be at drag shows and shit. And I know that's not necessarily overlap fully with trans. I've known transgendered people. I've never had any problem with them. Some of them are far right and love guns and shit. That being said, just leave the kids out of it. Let them make their own choices. Straight people shouldn't be sexualizing them either. And we'll call it a day. Doc Holliday, paralyzed goat Republican Party meme was spot on. Lol, great shout out from Tim Pool for you too. Yeah, I saw that. That was hilarious. I didn't actually make that meme though. I can't remember. I think I saved that goddamn 5 years ago or some shit like that. I think it was posted on 4chan, so I don't know who made it. Bleach Killer 419, have a good weekend, Sticks. Clank. Oh, it'll be a great start to the weekend as of making fried chicken later. Oh, Christ. The other night, I had roasted potatoes that I made, and we had chicken nungies, some nuggets, and that was good. But fried chicken is better than the nuggets. Chicken every day, Jesus Christ. Also, I now know how to make chicken soup. Like you shred the chicken up with forks and stuff really fine. You put some grain in it, some rice or whatever the fuck. Please send no more super chats, by the way. I've got a couple more to get through here. Sigil Stone, what is it with Africa and utter batshit quackery? Look at what shamans do to albinos. Seriously screwed up. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in certain parts of Africa, certainly. Like there was that one where I think they arrested someone for shrinking people's penis with witchcraft. I think that was real. And another one, that news story title that talks about the dude with his monster whopper raping another dude and being like, what was it? They called him a bum abuser or something like that. Apparently that's real. That was from Uganda, if I remember correctly. It's a little bit of a different culture in some of those countries. You see some weird shit from the West, though, in all honesty, too. So more than a little bit of weird shit. Yeah, and just anytime Marianne Williamson opens her mouth. Anyway, I think I'm going to go offline now because, of course, I got to get things prepped for dinner. Carve up the sweet potato. I'm going to make it Cajun style, but a little bit more sweet this time, I think. I don't like a lot of sweet, but a little bit is okay. That's perfectly fine. I will be back on Monday with more live streams. Don't worry if there's breaking news, and I see it anyway, if I'm awake. I will begin making shorts for that. I've done that, and the algorithm loves me for it on YouTube, so I might as fucking well start putting them on Rumble as well, I think as well in the future. Anyway, yeah, what's for dinner? Green beans, fried chicken, and sweet taters roasted to perfection. Lots and lots of crispiness. They're not supposed to be mushy. Some people serve them that way and they like it. I tend to deviate from this. That's about all. Peace.